Let me tell you about a man named Gary. Gary is 68. Gary worked hard his whole life, and Gary is, by every measure on a spreadsheet, doing just fine. Decent pension, a paid-off house, a 401k that didn't fall apart in the last market hiccup. On paper, Gary won the game. So why does Gary look like he's being chased by a hornet every single morning? Here's why. Gary has 11 bank accounts. 11. He's got a checking account, a second checking account he opened in 1994 for reasons nobody remembers, 2 savings accounts at 2 different banks because one gave him a free toaster, 3 credit cards he keeps for the points, and a brokerage account with a password so old it might legally qualify for Medicare itself. Every month, Gary sits down at the kitchen table with a calculator, a shoebox of receipts, and the facial expression of a man defusing a bomb. He spends the first Saturday of his golden years squinting at statements and muttering, "Now where did that $40 go?" Gary is not broke. Gary's busy, and those are 2 completely different problems. The goal in retirement was never just to have money. The goal was to have peace, and you cannot buy peace if managing your money feels like a part-time job you forgot to quit. So today, I want to introduce you to the opposite of Gary, the retirees who sleep like babies, the ones who check their finances about as often as they check the oil in a car they trust, the ones who have figured out a quiet little secret. Less stuff to manage means more life to live. These folks follow what I call the minimalist money rules, 6 of them. And if you stick with me to the end, rule number 6 is the one that quietly separates the people who merely afford retirement from the people who actually enjoy it. I'm Matty. This is where we keep your money simple and your stress lower than your cholesterol, and let's get into it. Rule number 1, own less to track less. Let's start with Gary's 11 bank accounts, because Gary is all of us a little bit. Here is a truth that took me embarrassingly long to learn. Every single account you own is a tiny little leash. It needs a password, it needs a login, it sends you emails, it has fees hiding in the fine print like a raccoon in a trash can. And in retirement, your brain does not need 11 raccoons. Smart retirees consolidate, ruthlessly. They look at the pile of accounts and ask one beautiful question: do I actually need this, or am I afraid to close it? Most of the time, the answer is the second one. We hang on to accounts the way we hang on to that exercise bike in the garage, not because we use it, but because closing it feels like admitting something. The minimalist retiree typically gets life down to something like this: 1 checking account for spending, 1 high-yield savings account for the emergency cushion, 1 or 2 investment accounts, and maybe a single credit card with rewards they actually understand. That's it. That's the whole circus. And the magic isn't just fewer logins. It's that when everything lives in 1 or 2 places, you can see your entire financial life in about 90 seconds. You don't have to assemble it like a 1,000-piece puzzle of your own anxiety. Action step: this week, write down every account you have, all of them. If the list surprises you, that is the problem. Pick 1 account you haven't touched in a year and start the process of closing it, 1 raccoon at a time. Rule number 2, know your 1 number. Gary tracks everything: the 11 accounts, the receipts, the coupons, the gas prices at 4 different stations. Gary has more data than a weather satellite, and he's still anxious because here's the cruel joke about tracking everything. When everything is important, nothing is. The minimalist retiree doesn't track 100 numbers, they track 1, and that 1 number is simply this: how much money it takes to run their life for 1 month. Rent or no rent, groceries, gas, insurance, the fun stuff, all of it, added up into a single figure. That's the number. Let's say for a couple it's $6,000 a month. That's the whole dashboard, not 40 categories. 1 line: we need $6,000 a month, and the money to cover it is coming in. If that's true, they're fine. If it's not, they adjust. There is no third thing to worry about. And here's why that 1 number is so free. Once you know it, the small stuff stops being scary. You stop having a tiny heart attack over a $4 coffee, because $4 doesn't budge a $6,000 number. It's a rounding error. You stop staring at 1 pixel and finally stepped back to see the whole picture. This is the real difference between a budget and a number. A budget is 40 little categories you have to feed and check on like a row of hungry baby birds. So how do you find your number? It's easier than you'd think, and it does not require a spreadsheet with a degree attached. Pull up the last 3 months of spending, your total spending, everything that left your accounts, and average it. Add a little cushion on top for comfort and the occasional surprise. That average plus the cushion is your number. Write it down, you're done. Rule number 3, Automate the boring stuff. Here's something nobody likes to admit. The reason most money tasks fall apart isn't a lack of discipline. It's that we ask our future self to do something our present self can't be bothered to do twice. The minimalist retiree solves this by deciding once and then never deciding again. They automate. The pension or Social Security hits the checking account. On the same day, an automatic transfer moves a set amount into savings. The bills are on auto pay. The investment account does its thing on a schedule. Why does this matter so much in retirement? Because cognitive load is real and it sneaks up on you. Every "I'll deal with that later" is a little open tab in your brain, and you only have so many tabs before the whole thing freezes up. Automation closes the tabs. I knew a retired teacher, sharp as a tack, who set up her entire system to run automatically and then, in her words, fired herself from the finance department. She said the day she stopped manually paying bills was the day retirement actually started. Before that, she just relocated her job to the kitchen table. Now, one fair warning. Automation is a wonderful servant and a terrible master. You still want to glance at the system once a month. Call it your monthly "is everything still breathing" check. 5 minutes. Make sure no subscription crept in, no charge looks weird, no transfer bounced. But that's it. 5 minutes a month versus Gary's Saturday morning calculator triathlon. The point isn't to be lazy. The point is that a system that runs without you is a system that can't fall apart because you got busy living your life. And living your life was, if you recall, the entire idea. Rule number 4, keep your investments boring. This one's going to feel backwards, so stay with me. There's a certain kind of retiree who the moment they clock out for the last time decides their brand new full-time job is managing the portfolio. They read 3 financial newsletters before the coffee's even done brewing. They've got an app that buzzes their phone every time the market so much as clears its throat. They check their accounts the way a teenager checks their texts, constantly, anxiously, and to absolutely no benefit. I understand the urge. You've got time now, and watching the money feels productive. But here's the hard truth. In retirement, an exciting portfolio is usually a losing portfolio. The minimalist retiree wants their investments to be the single most boring thing they own. Boring is not the consolation prize. Boring is the goal. Boring is what quietly pays for the cruise. Think of it like a garden. You can plant something good, water it, and let it grow, or you can be the gardener who yanks the plant out of the soil every 3 days to check on the roots. That second gardener is always shocked when nothing ever grows. That's what constant tinkering does to a portfolio. Every time you reshuffle because some loud fellow on TV raised his voice, you're pulling up the roots. I knew a retired engineer, brilliant man, could build you a bridge out of paper clips, who rebuilt his entire investment mix every time the headlines got scary. Sold low in a panic, bought back in once it felt safe again, which of course meant buying high. He did this for years. He worked harder in retirement than he ever did at his job, and he had less to show for it. He'd turned a quiet pond into a washing machine. The minimalist approach is almost insultingly simple. Pick a sensible mix you can live with, write it down, and then leave it alone. Set one date a year, pick your birthday so you can't forget, to glance at it, rebalance if it's drifted, and then close the laptop. The rest of the year, hands off. The plant grows when you stop digging it up.
And let me free you from something while we're here. You do not need to beat the market. You already won. The game now isn't more, it's enough. Kept calm for a long time. You don't need a thrilling portfolio any more than you need a thrilling heart monitor. Steady and boring is exactly what you're rooting for in both. Action step. This week, write down your target mix on one index card, yes, an actual card, and tape it somewhere you'll see it. Then delete the app that pings you. Your portfolio will not miss your supervision, and your blood pressure will throw a little party. Rule number 5. Stop chasing pennies, start protecting hours. This one's a mindset shift, and it's a big one because it goes against 40 years of training. When you're young and building wealth, frugality is a superpower. You clip the coupon, you drive across town for cheaper gas, you wait for the sale. That muscle served you well. It's part of how you got here. But somewhere along the way, the math quietly flips, and most people never notice it flip. Here's the flip. When you're 35, time feels infinite and money feels scarce, so you trade time to save money. That makes sense. But in retirement, the equation reverses. Now, time is the rare thing. Now, time is the one resource you absolutely cannot earn more of, no matter how clever you are. So when the minimalist retiree catches themselves about to drive 20 minutes across town to save 80 cents on a jar of pickles, they stop and ask the new question: is this saving me money or is it spending my time? And more often, they let the 80 cents go, not because they're rich, because they're wise. They've realized you can't take the pickle savings with you, but you also can't get the 20 minutes back. This does not mean spend recklessly. It means spend consciously and stop torturing yourself over the kind of small stuff that, against your one big enough number from Rule 2, simply doesn't move the needle. I've watched retirees spend an hour comparing two phone plans to save $3 a month. An hour to save $3. Friend, and I say this with love, your hourly rate as a retiree should be priceless, not $3. You did not survive 40 years of meetings to negotiate yourself a worse deal on your own life. The minimalist money rule here is freeing. Protect the big things, automate the medium things, and let the pennies go. The pennies were never the point. The point was the freedom to not think about pennies at all. Rule number 6, give every dollar a purpose. And now we're at the one that ties everything together. This is the rule that separates the people who afford retirement from the people who genuinely enjoy it. Here it is. Money has no value sitting still. Its only value is what it lets you do, who it lets you be with, and how it lets you feel. A pile of money that never gets pointed at anything that matters is just a high score in a game nobody's keeping. A lot of retirees, especially the great savers, the disciplined ones, the people who did everything right, get to retirement and find they physically cannot spend. They saved for 40 years, and the muscle that lets you enjoy money has gone completely stiff. They've got the resources to take the grandkids to the beach, and they're agonizing over the price of the rental umbrella. The minimalist retiree fixes this by giving every dollar a job, a purpose, not just save it, not just hoard it for some emergency that's been imaginary for 15 years, but actual named purposes. This money is for travel. This money is for the grandkids. This money is for the hobby that makes me feel 25 again. This money is for being the person who picks the check and feels great doing it. When money has a purpose, two things happen. 1, you stop wasting it on stuff that doesn't matter because it's already spoken for. And 2, this is the big one, you finally give yourself permission to spend it on the stuff that does. The guilt evaporates. You're not being reckless, you're executing a plan. The plan just happens to involve joy. Because here's what I've learned watching a lot of retirements, both the great ones and the sad ones. The saddest retirement isn't the one that runs a little short. The saddest retirement is the one that someone dies with a fat account and a thin life, a lifetime of saying, not yet, maybe next year, until there were no next years left.
Minimalism in retirement isn't about having less for the sake of less. It's about clearing away all the financial clutter. Less noise, more life. That's the whole game. None of these require a finance degree. None of them require a fancy advisor. They just require the courage to make your money life simpler, which, in a world built to make it complicated, is practically a radical act. So here's my question for you, and I genuinely read these. Which one of these are you going to tackle first? Are you a recovering Gary with too many accounts, a penny chaser ready to reclaim your hours, or are you someone who needs to hear Rule 6 and finally give yourself permission to enjoy what you built? Drop it in the comments, I want to know. And if this helped clear even a little bit of fog, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel reach the next person who's still sitting at the kitchen table with a calculator and a shoebox. Keep it simple, keep it calm, and I'll see you in the next one.